VikesNow, I'm Dustin Baker. Today is the February 20th edition. We are about, 3 weeks away from free agency, which after the hire of Brian Flores, I guess over the weekend, the small extensions of Kairos Tonga and Blake Brandel, free agency would be considered the next big step where you'll start to get clues about what the 2023 Vikings want to do on paper to formulate a roster. I think possible extensions for Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson could hit before then. Those could be dominoes as well. Usually in an offseason, at least in the last three, the Cousins decision to extend in the past 3 years versus this time, perhaps letting the contract play out or extending him. That's usually the first domino we shall see this year. It's year number 2 for this leadership regime. But so there's fascinating topics all over the place. Do they keep Adam Thielen? What happens to some of the defensive players like Eric Kendricks, Darius Smith, the older guys? There's decisions galore all over the Vikings orbit, and those will play out soon. But among the most fascinating is the running back deal. Heading into last year, the Vikings had one of the deepest running back rooms in the NFL with Dalvin Cook, Alexander Mattison, Ty Chandler, Kene Nwangwu. And they probably won't be that deep next year because it felt like when Adofo-Mensah came in and hired Kevin O'Connell, they kind of gave everything a one-year patch over. Like, all right, let's see what you guys did here. We like what we see on the roster. Let's see how good you can play with, a new storefront. And now I expect to see more of the changes to align with Adofo-Mensah's vision. And one of the most fascinating biggest dominoes is running back. So to set the stage, here's where we're at if you don't follow this quite as close as me or the rest of the viewers, is Dalvin Cook's contract. He is the 4th highest paid running back in the NFL per 2023 scheduled cap hit. He is on deck to earn $14.1 million per that cap hit. That's the cap number against the Vikings books when they're adjudicating his value. And that is a lot. Only the guys like Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey get that type of money. These days in the NFL, you just kind of pay a running back money on his rookie deal, and then you move on. The Vikings, because they employed Mike Zimmer at head coach, haven't done that. They gave Dalvin a big contract at the beginning of the 2020 season, and that is now coming home to roost as there's a couple more years left on that deal. And we shall see if a non-Zimmer, non-Spielman regime wants to stay on board with an expensive running back. The other cog in this wheel is Alexander Mattison. Now, he's a true blue free agent. The Vikings drafted him in round 3 of the 2019 NFL draft. And so now it's time for him to test the open market. He was a pretty decent RB2, especially when Dalvin Cook would get injured. He wasn't crazy dynamic, but he was dependable, and he usually stayed healthy. And when Cook needed a breather, Mattison really wasn't too grand of a drop-off. Now, he may want to be showcased as a W or RB1 somewhere else. Otherwise, the Vikings could maybe have him back for $3 to $4 million per season. But those are the two biggies, the faces and the names that you're used to at running back. One of them is really expensive and may not be back with the club accordingly, and the other one is going to hit free agency unless Adofo-Mensah wraps Mattison up for the long term. Then, the other two are the affordable ones that will be attached to the roster no matter what. Ty Chandler, who Kwesi Adofo-Mensah drafted last year, and Kene Nwangwu, who enters year 3 of a 4-year rookie deal, and he's primarily the kick returner. This time in the offseason and maybe in the next 5 months, we always envision how fun it would be if you could get Kene involved in the offense because he's so damn fast, faster than a Bugatti. But those are the 4 running backs right now that are associated with the roster. Here's the thing. Before we talk anything about Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's philosophy, in 2022, and I've said this on the show before, and I've written it all over the place, the Vikings ran the ball the 3rd least. Per the percentage of pass and running plays on offense, the Vikings turned it around, handed it off to Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison, the 3rd least in the NFL. And then when they did give the ball to a running back, the yards per carry ranked 26th, which translates to 7th worst. So you're not a very productive rushing enterprise, and you barely even run the ball to begin with. So I told you a few minutes ago about Dalvin Cook having the 4th largest cap hit in 2023. Why on earth would you run the ball the third least, but pay your running back the fourth most? Those don't go together. And it's not surprising that a former quarterback and Kevin O'Connell wants to pass. We love it. I'd like them to be a little bit more balanced and move that rushing number up to the middle of the league, because that seems to dictate time of possession and whatnot, but that's just me. But what I don't understand is how you will afford the fourth largest cap hit to Dalvin Cook when you run the ball on offense, philosophically, the third least. Those don't merge. They don't marry whatsoever. Now, talking about Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. He is one of the executives known in the NFL as a Moneyball guy, a Wall Street guy, a guy who enjoys sports analytics. And usually, this day and age, when you hear sports analytics, that is the whistle that says, oh, he doesn't really like running backs. He doesn't want to pay running backs the big bucks. Well, if you look on that guy's very roster, he is indeed, as of right now, paying running backs the big bucks. So again, something's got to give. This is why you're going to learn soon how Adofo-Mensah feels about running backs. He may have given everybody a 1-year grace period, grandfathered Cook into this system and said, show us what you got, and Cook performed quite well. He wasn't quite as dynamic as the Cook that we knew from 2020. Few people are, but he did break off, 4 humongous touchdowns that were supremely impactful for the Vikings. But now is the time, probably in the next few weeks, where you're going to learn beyond the shadow of a doubt if the analytics general manager subscribes to analytics theories about running backs. So here are the options. There are 5 of them in my estimation. If I forgot one, holler at me, put them in the comments. The first option is to do absolutely nothing. That would be let Alexander Mattison walk in free agency and go play for the Dolphins or Chiefs or whoever might sign him, Eagles, I don't know. Bring Dalvin Cook back, exact same contract, $14.1 million cap hit. Just work around it. You got an expensive running back, baby. That's fine with me. I'm going to have one exception to my little analytics policy, says Adofo-Mensah, and that's going to be an expensive running back. It sure sounds weird, but this is an option, and then you would have the depth part of the roster behind Dalvin Cook be Chandler and Kene Nwangu. Number 2 is just a hope and a prayer that Dalvin Cook accepts a pay cut. You'll hear me on this show until Kingdom Come. Why on earth would a player accept a pay cut? He signed a contract for X amount of dollars. I don't understand, unless they're complete humanitarians, why they would accept less money. You wouldn't do it at your job. I don't do it at mine. Why do you push that onto players just because they make millions, that they have enough? That's not how this works. If you have this talent like these NFLers do, you don't just get in the business of taking less money. In fact, you should be trying to get more. So the option number 2 is, by some fleeting chance, Dalvin Cook's like, yeah, I'll take one for the team, take less money, or if for some really weird reason Adofo-Mensah wants to push his money out into the future, that would be number 2. And Dalvin would still stay with the team, and then you'd have, boom, Chandler and Nwangu. Number 3 is, with Dalvin Cook, let's say they can't meet in the middle for a restructure or pay cut, and Dalvin Cook says, damn it, nope, I'm still good, I'm going elsewhere. That would mean the Vikings either outright release him or trade him. And I don't know what you can get on the trade market, probably a 5th rounder or so for a running back that's going to be 28. The other option in that scenario is, if you get rid of number 3 here, if you get rid of Cook, is to bring Mattison back. He's not going to be crazy expensive. I think last year when we started to think about free agency a little bit at this time in the calendar, we're like, yeah, Mattison can go be an RB1 somewhere. And we had this assumption that some team will pay him a bunch of money. I don't think that they will. I think he'll get about $3 or $4 million per season. And this, if you wanted to do that, let go of Cook, retain Mattison, then you would have continuity at a relatively affordable price. Let's say it's 3 years, $12 million for Alexander Mattison, outfitted with Chandler and Nwangu. You have continuity. And even after the playoff loss, Kirk Cousins called out Garrett Bradbury and Alexander Mattison as 2 guys that he would like to see back. And usually when a QB1 says stuff like that, it should matter. But the third option is to part ways with Cook and retain Mattison, and then you have a committee of Mattison, Chandler, and Nwangu, and whoever else you might sign for the summer. Number 4 is roll with Ty Chandler and Kene Nwangu and perhaps a rookie. Chandler was already drafted last year by Adofo-Mensah, so I'm assuming that he likes him and has a plan to play him. The fourth option, if you divorce Cook and Madison altogether, is to roll with what you got plus a younger option. And then you have a full committee, 3 players on rookie contracts, and a really speedy one because Chandler is fast, and we already know Kane is fast as hell. I'm going to guess the next rookie they got wouldn't be slow. But you could do the totally youthful, revamped approach of Chandler and Nwangu and rookie guy, anonymous, unnamed dude A. And he could probably come from the 5th round or whatever because you can get damn good running backs that late in the draft. And the final option, in my view, is rolling with Chandler and Nwangu and then just signing a guy in free agency like Kenyon Drake or Samaje Perine from the Bengals. Just finding a veteran, a stabilizing force to go with these rookies who will be cheap, just kind of like Madison would be cheap, probably even cheaper than Madison. And then you've got kind of a traditional committee in the NFL, at least one that wins Super Bowls, where you got 2 young guys and then just a carries guy like Kenyon Drake that you don't expect to lead the league in rushing, but he is there to, grind out some first downs from time to time. So those are the options. And with all 5 of those, they're going to come to a head really soon because if the Vikings say sayonara to Cook and then you watch Madison trot off to an AFC team or something like that, that means you're getting the committee, and it's going to involve Chandler, Kane, and some guy to be named later. I would expect the Cook stuff and certainly Madison stuff to be adjudicated by free agency week, which is March 13th through, 17th? And that ain't far away at all. All right, hope you guys enjoyed the little chat about running backs, but you're going to get a peek into Adofo-Mensah's soul very soon about how he feels about paying running backs, if at all. Skol, baby.